everybody, and welcome to Books Unbound, the podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts with your hosts. Us, it's Ariel, and...
Me, Raylene. It's me again. I know.
Yet again! We've got her back.
Yep.
All right, so things are a little different. I was going to say on the video side, but probably also on the audio side.
Whoa.
Because I am not at home. I think I accidentally clicked a button on the camera there, Raylene.
Yeah, while you were saying that, like, what I was seeing started to change too. It was keeping me on my toes.
I am currently in England. Woohoo!
Yeah.
I'm in London. And I am staying at a really pretty Airbnb. Listen, Airbnbs are a real hit and miss these days. I used to have such a good track record with Airbnbs. And then I think it just became so widespread that
like anyone could have an Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly. It just became really popular. And obviously we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of, and it is quite a rabbit hole, about the ramifications of Airbnb on crumbling housing crisis. But I will say that this is really nice. It feels really lovely to stay here, and it feels like it's going to be a really fun trip. So literally we got in last night.
Oh my gosh.
So today's Monday. Our flight left Canada on Sunday morning. Well, Sunday at 11. And then we got to England at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And then got on the train, got to the flat, as they say, not the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Got to act like a local, Raylene. Flat. And when I tell you, Raylene, that I did not sleep,
Uh-oh.
I cannot emphasize how
Been
true
there.
that truly was. Yeah. I know that you had that when you came to Nova Scotia.
It's rough.
It is. It's actually really rough. So basically, by the time we got to our apartment, it was like 12, like midnight. And then we had dinner because we were like, we're starving. So we ordered takeaway. We had dinner and then we had a cup of tea. It was like 1 a.m. when we were like finally like, okay, ready for bed. Connor fell asleep. I did not.
Oh no.
I just lay in bed. I was like, what do I do? I was like, I'm like literally not sleepy at all. Part of it was just like in my body, you know, it was 4 hours earlier. So it wasn't bedtime yet.
Yeah.
And I think also, I thought it was smart, but maybe it was a mistake. I slept on the plane.
Oh no.
And like, it was really good for the plane because I like slept through big parts of it. But then it kind of turned out that meant that I wasn't sleepy here. So the last time that I saw my clock, it was like 5:15 a.m. And I was trying to see the sun come up. And I was like, God, I hate that.
You're like, when you want to sleep, you're not trying to stay up all night.
No, exactly. So when you see like, when you're past 5, it's just the next day now. I was like, I'm just in the next day.
Yeah.
We also had a really funny moment at 4 a.m. Connor also woke up.
Oh.
And he was like, I just heard him like drinking water, and then I heard him go on his phone. Oh. And I was like, I was like, are you awake?
Yeah, you're like just lying there. So awake.
Yeah. He was like, yes. I was like, me too. And then it felt like we had a little adventure because both of us realized we were really hot. We were like, we've got to figure out how to turn the heat down. And so we both got up and then we like refilled our water. We had a little talk. Yeah. Like it was so bad. It was such a brutal night of sleep. Finally, I fell asleep, like I said, like around 5:30ish. And then I woke up again at 8:30 because I was supposed to be meeting a friend soon afterwards. And I was like, this is going to be a rough day.
Oh, God.
Sadly and fortunately, the trip that her visit got kind of rescheduled to later this week. So I went back to sleep and it was really on and off sleep. Like I kept waking up and then falling asleep. It was a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
But I did get a bit more sleep. But now it's 7:30 p.m. here. And I'm just like on my last legs. Like I also spent the whole day walking. I had such a lovely day just walking around. But I'm exhausted, which is great. So basically I'm going to record this podcast and then I'm going to go to sleep.
Good stuff.
How are things over there? How's BC?
Oh, I mean, BC is great. You know, we had 2 days that were like summertime and then it went back to being rainy, which is fine. But other than that, Nothing really that interesting going on. As previously mentioned, I've been playing a lot of video games, and funnily enough, as of yesterday, suddenly my tailbone has started to really hurt because I've been sitting so much.
That's actually
so now I'm like, oh god, I need to get up and move. So I'm hoping to do that today. Once we're done recording, I'm like, I'm gonna go for a walk. But man, yeah, the video gaming has been fun, but it's starting to kill me, so I need to stop.
It's starting to rot your body from the inside
it's
out.
really unfortunate. I'm like, dude, what is happening to me?
We're not built like we used to be.
No.
All right. Well, let's hop into talking about our reading, Raylene, because you and I did something fun.
Finally.
All right.
A buddy read.
We did something fun. We did a buddy read.
It's been a while.
And it has been a while. What was our last buddy read? Do we remember?
I mean, really probably when we did the last book club, but that doesn't even count.
That doesn't really count. Yeah, maybe one of our graphic novels at the end of last
either a
year,
graphic novel. I think we did something more recently than Homesick for Another World, which was our last, like, proper buddy read, I think. So I don't know.
But it has been Anya's a while, Ghost. And Anya's Ghost was good. It was good. Yeah. We like doing the buddy reads. There's a couple of problems with the buddy reads. The one big problem is that we're both self-professed mood readers. And so it's hard for us to both be in the same mood at the exact same time for the same book. That has definitely been a big problem.
That's true.
The other big problem is me. Raylene is definitely much better at, like, sticking to the schedule and just being like, you know, because usually what we do is we'll pick a book and then we'll break it into, usually it's about 50-page segments. Like that's what we
manageable to read in a day.
Yeah, and so we'll do like 50 pages a day until we finish the book. And Raylene's always very good at the end of the day, sending me the, like, her voice note or her typed message or whatever with thoughts on what she read. But I think, Raylene, we cracked something this time. I think we did really good because we had such a weird schedule.
It was wacky.
It was such a weird schedule for this read. So basically, we decided we wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we could fit it in before I go to England. Like, so if we want to do it, we should do it now, or else we're going to get delayed again, and then we're not going to be in the mood again. So we decided, okay, we both have weird schedules. Let's figure this out. So basically, it was like, what day was it? Tuesday?
It was like Monday, Thursday, Saturday. Those were the days that we both were like, I'm free on those days. I can read a section. I can read. Days.
Exactly. Yeah. So on Monday, we had to have read 50 pages. On Thursday, we're supposed to read 50 pages, and on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So what that meant for me was that I had 2 days each time. Like, that's what it felt like in my heart. So on the first day, I think I did it on the first day. But then on the second day, it was like the day after. And then this day, it was like 2 days after. But we got it done for when we wanted to get it done. So I think having like a built-in flexibility worked.
But as it happens, though, we haven't really discussed the book that much because the days did get thrown off a little bit. And I don't know your final thoughts. You don't know my final thoughts. I was like, whatever, we'll just talk about it later.
Yeah, which is kind of perfect. We can talk about it on the podcast. So we haven't even said the book.
I know, it's super suspenseful so far.
We're being so dramatic. Okay, the book we read was Mcglue by Ottessa Moshfegh. Ottessa Moshfegh is an American writer. She was born in Boston and now lives in Southern California. While achieving her MFA, she made a living by selling vintage clothing. Her first novel, Eileen, was nominated for the Man Booker Prize, and Mcglue is her first published novella. So, Raylene, what was your journey? Tell me your journey with Mcglue.
I'm glad you asked because, okay, well, first of all, we've been meaning to read this book for a couple of months now. Like at the end of last year, we decided, well, we wanted to either read it in December or January or February. We're like, it seems like a winter book, so let's go with that. We ended up reading it in March, so not too far off. But yeah, we've been.
I will also say it was not a winter book.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It doesn't.
I don't know why we thought that.
I don't know why. Just because it seems like depressing, I guess, is like the vibe that we got. But anyway, so I started reading it before you did. So I like literally sat down. I was like, okay, buddy read, let's go. And within a few pages, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, you literally texted me, like, we recorded last week's episode. We then talked about doing this buddy
And then I
read,
went in and started reading.
and then you were like, I'm going to literally start this today.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, all power to you. Go, baby, go. And then literally like 15 minutes later, you texted me and you're like, I am already not liking this. And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, like, this book is just, I think it's like supposed to make you just feel sadness and hatred toward, like, you're just supposed to feel bad when you start reading it, which I don't like. Like, I don't like that the immediate intention was like, I want to make you unhappy, because the main character is just so disgusting and like disrespectful and just like crass and horrible. And so yeah, within the first, I think it was on like page 24 when I texted you, and I honestly at that point was considering not finishing the book. Like, I was hating it that much. I was like, I don't like this. Like, why am I going to keep reading it? And it kind of like put me in a bad mood. And so I ran away from it for a little bit to go play more Stardew. And then I gained the courage to finish reading that section. And I also, so that was the beginning. I didn't love it, but then we kept reading, and we kind of like made a prediction early on in the book that I feel like was super obvious. Like, I feel like it wasn't a very subtle book. Everything was kind of in your face from the beginning. So, I mean, basic plot, you've got this guy named Mcglue who he's drunk all the time. He has a major drinking problem. This takes place in the 1800s. So he's like a dirty man, sailor on a boat and always drunk. Like, that's the vibe of this book. And at the beginning, he is thrown into jail and told that he killed his best friend. And he's like, what? This is crazy. But he has such foggy memories because he's drunk all the time. And so the book kind of goes back and forth between the current timeline and, you know, the previous timeline kind of leading up to where he is now. And I also found, you listened to it on audiobook, so I'll be interested to hear your thoughts in a second, but I found it super confusing because the book doesn't tell you which timeline you're reading from. You're kind of just thrown into it. And so you'll be reading from Mcglue's perspective, and you're like, where is he right now? What is he, like, is he in jail? Is he just thinking about things? Like, I don't know what's happening. And so I found it very jolting and hard to follow, but eventually I kind of got used to it and was like, whatever. But yeah, I just felt like the book was super in your face and obvious. How did you feel about that?
I definitely agree with everything you've just said. So, like you mentioned, I listened to the audiobook, and I would say that if you are a person who, after our review of this, still wants to check it out, like, you're like, I get you, but I want to make up my own mind, or actually that kind of sounds good to me, or whatever. I really do actually recommend the audiobook. It was so That's good. Awesome. Like, I was trying to explain this to Connor during dinner, and I was like, the audiobook was good, but like, I didn't think the book was very good. And he's like, an actor can only do so much with a script. And, and I was like, okay, but literally, yes. Like, I felt that the audiobook reader, he did such a great job. And you texted early on saying, like, I'm finding it really hard to understand what timeline we're in. Because, like you said, there is the timeline of the present day where he is in jail and he's trying to remember what the hell happened, and he's just drunk and confused. But then it will cut back to how he met his best friend and the moments he shared with his best friend and in the past. And, like, the audiobook narrator did a really good job of somehow making those changes clear. Like, the present day version of him would talk like kind of not slurred, like not like actually, but like kind of like he just sounded way more of a douchebag. Whereas then the past version of him sounded a little bit more alert.
Yeah, he was still fresh,
if you know what I mean. Yeah, so that actually I think that made a really big difference because the chapter headings are all different places. And so you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, that would be easy to track. Like, we're in this timeline, we're in that timeline. But no, in the present day timeline, he's stuck in the prison of his boat. And the boat is still going on its adventures. Like, it's still going all over the world. And then in his past, him and his best friend would go all over the world. So you're like, there's no consistency.
Don't really give you any indication of anything. No, they felt kind of
at all
pointless almost.
I honestly also thought that was a little pointless. Like, I felt like I was like, what is the point of making these characters move around so much. Like, we're in Tierra del Fuego, now we're in San Jose, now we're in, like, and I was like, why? Like, they don't interact with the culture at all. They're not like meeting other characters at all. I'm like, I don't actually see the point of having these characters go around everywhere, and it's just a little confusing.
I would much rather the chapter titles have been like then and now. Like,
yes,
it seems kind of,
I totally agree,
straightforward and obvious, but like, it would have been helpful. It would have made more sense.
It would have been a little bit more clear. John Green was onto something in
Looking for Alaska.
So basically, the story is like, the story is, did he kill his best friend? Because he doesn't remember. You don't know. Everyone's telling him he did. He doesn't feel like he did. You're just trying to like determine. And like you said, you and me made a prediction about another kind of big plot element. We don't want to spoil it, but like this other big plot element. And it was just so obvious that was the case. And then, so there was no tension throughout the entire novel. I was like, okay, well, clearly this is what, am I missing something? Like, is there something that I'm supposed to have guessed differently? Because I'm like, it's clearly this. And then at the end of the book, the last paragraph is like, and it's this. And I'm like, well,
I feel like it could have been a short story even. Like, I feel like it was too long for what it was. And it was so short. Like, it was 140 pages, but it felt too long, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, it sucks because I really like the premise of the book. Like, a man who has problems with his memory because of something that he's doing to himself, like, is such an interesting premise. It's not just like, oh, he's unreliable because maybe he, got hit on the head. And although he does have problems with hitting his head as well.
Because I feel like a huge part of it is that he's an alcoholic and he's just like always drinking and always inebriated and or like intensely hungover and in withdrawal. But the other thing is he did have some big head injury that happens like during the part where he doesn't remember, and he keeps like messing up that wound. So he is like literally inflicting brain damage upon himself. I guess I would just say, and we've said this for basically every Ottessa novel, there has to, for me, be a bit of a reason to justify all of the grossness. And by grossness, I mean the violence, I mean the language, I mean like what the character is doing, how the character thinks. Like, there needs to be something that makes that worth it. So, for example, in My Year of Rest and Relaxation, it is also a gross book. It's gross in a different way, but it's like pretty gross and nasty. To me, it made sense because the main character went on an actual, I felt, interesting journey with her character. Like, it's not that she grew, but she definitely learned something. And then also, you've got this really interesting premise that's really interesting to read about. In this one, it's literally just a guy who's stuck in the bottom of a boat and doesn't ever see anything, do anything, go on adventures. I'm like, he literally, like, I almost think like it's mismarketing to call this a pirate adventure. Yeah. Because it would have been the exact same novel if he'd just been in a prison the whole
true.
time.
I actually forgot that he was on the boat. That's how disconnected I was from it all. It just felt like he was in a jail. Like, the boat aspect didn't really matter. It was almost just like an excuse for him to be an alcoholic. It's like, oh, well, he's a pirate. So it just, these things happen. Yeah, exactly. But there was like, it didn't add anything to the story.
The day before my trip, on Friday, was Connor's birthday party. And I was supposed to finish reading part of the section then, and I didn't quite finish it. And then Saturday was such a strange day. It was a really fun day, but like things kept happening, and I was like, when am I going to read? This is so weird. This day was not supposed to go like this. And it ended, and I texted you. I was like, Early, I didn't quite finish the book yet, but I'm going to finish it on the plane, right? And so I got on the plane, and I got on the plane and I opened up my phone and I was diligent. I was like, I'm going to make sure I finish this because we're going to talk. We made a pact. We're going to talk about it on the episode. And so I put in my headphones and, we've taken off. We're in the air. I hit play and Libby, because I was borrowing it from the library, says, you did not download this book. And I was like, no. No. I, for some reason, thought Libby downloaded all of the books that
That's
I
tragic.
read on the app. Like, I don't know why I thought that. I should have assumed it wasn't, but I thought it was. And so I was like, oh my God, okay. And I just tried for like a minute to fix it. And I was like, this is doomed. There's nothing I can do. This is over. So I just went to sleep.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to sleep on the plane. I also, actually, as a little aside, I tried watching a movie on the plane. I tried watching The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry.
Tried.
Raylene, it was some of the worst acting that I have ever seen. Like, I literally couldn't get through 10 minutes of it.
Yikes.
I think I watched 15 minutes of this movie, and I was, like, cringing the entire time. I was like, this is so confusing, because that book is not cringe. The book is so masterfully, beautifully done. But the acting in this and the, like, directing and everything felt so stilted. It really felt like a Hallmark movie, you know, the Hallmark Christmas romance movies. It felt like one of those, but without the charm. Because, like, the Hallmark movies know that they're Hallmark movies. So they're just like, we're cheesy and we know it, and we're all just here to enjoy the cheese. It's a genre in and of itself. But this felt like that without knowing it. And I was like, oh my, I actually genuinely can't watch this. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm going to
you're like, sleep. You kept trying to do something else other than sleep, and then you had no other choice.
I know. I was like, this isn't working. I'm going to sleep now. Anyway, so I wanted to just mention that. But I got home and didn't sleep, as I mentioned. And I was like, oh, I guess I could listen to the audiobook while I couldn't sleep. And I was like, I would rather not. I was like,
I'd rather lay here and stare at the ceiling with nothing in my ears.
Literally, I would rather stare at the ceiling. I was like, this is just such a dark place to hang out for the night. I was like, I don't want to hang out in that dark world. Like, I'm just not, no. So this morning when I woke up, when I finally got up and going, like I mentioned, I did a lot of walking today. The big reason for that was because I had 2 hours left of the audiobook. So I just walked around listening to the audiobook.
What a weird thing to listen to.
And it was fun. It was fun. Yeah, no, it was actually really fun because, you know, I'm in London, which is obviously such an old city with such old buildings, and you're listening to this like 1800s story and stuff. I was like, this works. This definitely works. But even that was not enough to save the book. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I just thought it was honestly, more than anything, I just thought it was pretty boring.
Yeah, for something so short, like all of her books that we've read, which is pretty much all of them now for you. Like, you've read most of Homesick, but other than that, like, you've read all of her books.
I've read all her novels.
There you go.
And novellas, like, just the short story
I found
collection.
Even when I didn't enjoy the books, like, say, Death in Her Hands, it was still readable. Like, it wasn't necessarily boring. Like, it kept moving. It was just, like, lacking in other ways. But this one, for the shortest book of hers to be the most boring, was shocking to me. I thought it would at least read quickly.
That's kind of
yeah, it's a real shame. Real shame. I just hated the main character so much. Like,
I did too. I was like, there's nothing interesting, good, worthy. I'm like, why am I spending so much time with this dude that
that's exactly how I felt. And I don't
like,
often feel that. Like, I like reading about unlikable characters, but this time it just didn't work for me.
I feel like with Eileen, you've got a really unlikable character, but she's unlikable in a weird, intriguing, almost charming way where you're like, I'm compelled. I'm curious to learn more about this character.
Yeah, definitely.
With My Year of Rest and Relaxation, you have actually kind of an interesting character, but mainly you have a really interesting premise. So it's like really pulling you along. With this one, I was just like, I don't know what there is to like.
There was nothing for me to like. Yeah, like, I wanted to like it. I really did, but I was, like I said, within 20 pages, I could just tell I wasn't going to like it. Like, I had a gut feeling, and I could have easily not read the book, and I'd be in the same place.
I kept saying to myself, or like thinking to myself, I was like, there's a reason no one talks about Mcglue.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, there's a reason why people aren't like, and you've got to check out Mcglue. No one's ever said that to me.
No.
And I'm like, now I know why. Yeah. And I was saying to Connor, I was like, at this point, it would actually be, I'd be way more interested in Ottessa Moshfegh writing something that isn't gross.
I know. I feel like, I don't want to say she's a one-trick pony, because she's not, but like, she does lean on that quite a lot.
She's really leaning on it. Yeah. And I'm like, you're allowed to have a thing, but I feel like every book that I read is the same. It's like
it gets
super
tiring.
gross, dark, violent, vile, in just a slightly different setting every time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you gotta do that in a brand new way, or just do something different. Because now I'm getting a little bored, honestly.
Yeah, it's true. Like at this point, we've read. How did she have 6 books or 7 books? I think it's. I want to say 6. What do we? How do we feel about Ottessa as a whole?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Mcglue, Eileen, My Year of Rest and Relaxation, Lapvona,
Homesick,
Death in Her Hands.
Did you say Homesick for Another World already?
I didn't say Homesick. Okay, so 5 novels / a novella, and then
short story collection.
Short story collection, yeah. I actually messaged you a couple of days ago, and I was just like, do we even like Ottessa?
That really shook me up.
I was like, really? Was like, what?
What do you mean? Of course we do. But then when you started like explaining it more, I was like, wait, maybe we don't. Because if I think about it, she's written 6 books. I've read them all. Yeah. I liked 3 of them and didn't like 3 of them.
And how many of them did you love, would you say?
I mean, I would say I like medium loved all of the ones I liked. Like,
okay.
My Year of Rest and Relaxation, Eileen, and Lapvona are like my top 3.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would say I loved them. Like, I really liked them. Like, I thought those were all really strong books in different ways. But yeah, I don't know if I could say that I loved any of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I even liked them as much as you did. So
yeah.
My Year of Rest and Relaxation, I still think is a fantastic, phenomenal book.
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting, strange book. I think that it got really popular for a reason. Mm-hmm. Lapvona, I didn't like that much. Yeah. There were certain elements of it that I enjoyed, but overall, I was just like, what's going on? Eileen, I would definitely put as my kind of second favorite, but I wouldn't call it a favorite. Like I realized looking back, I liked reading it with you. Like I liked us talking about it, and it was interesting for us to talk about our feelings with that book. But looking back, I never want to reread that book.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly also like not looking forward to the movie. I'm like, that's not going to be fun to watch. Like that's not going to be a pleasant movie. You know what I mean? I will watch it obviously, but I'm just like, oh boy. And then Homesick, I kind of DNF'd. I was just like, I can't even handle another depressing, dark, depraved story. I'm like, I'm done. I get it. Mcglue, I actively didn't like. Death in Her Hands, I thought was really boring. So I'm just like, I guess I'm just kind of going back to what you were saying before, where I'm like, have I seen what Ottessa does now? And it's just getting repetitive for me.
Yeah, like I really wonder what her next book will be. Because I definitely feel like we'll read it. But that could we keep wanting to see what she does next, which is the thing that's going for her. Like we definitely are interested to see what she's going to do next, because even though she does kind of lean on the gross stuff all the time, each book is kind of fresh and new and different in some way or another. And so you're intrigued to see, what is she going to make out of this medieval world, or what is she going to make out of this story?
Yeah. I don't
know.
I think kind of the point where I'm at is just sort of, I'm more interested in her as a person and a writer.
You never know what she's going to do next.
Yeah, I think that she obviously is one of the biggest and most interesting and compelling authors of our moment. But I want her to shake things up. Yeah. I think that's where I'm kind of at right now. But I'm excited that I've read all of her novels now. That feels really fun. And I do want to go back and just finish those last 3 stories from the collection, because it's literally
honestly,
just 3.
The last few stories are the better ones. I'm really mad that they weren't earlier in the book.
Yeah. It might have kept me going. All right. So let's talk about other stuff, Raylene. Yeah. What other stuff have you been reading, or what books do you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, before I jump into what I'm currently reading, I actually got a book. I didn't buy it, but my friend gave it to me as a belated Christmas present. She was supposed to give it to me for Christmas, and she wasn't sure if I would want it. And then she told me about it after Christmas, and I was like, yeah, give me that. Like, I want that. And that book is Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman, but the copy that she got me has cats all over it.
Oh my god, wait, I've never seen
I
that
know,
cover.
isn't it wild? There's these strange little like mass market paperback editions that they've done.
Yeah.
Harper Lux, it looks like Harper
Huh.
Collins did these. And yeah, it's like a strange little copy, but this book is short stories, and I'm not sure if there's also essays. It seems like there might be poems in this book as well. And I actually just checked, and the Libby has the audiobook, which is of course read by Neil Gaiman, so I think that might be my next
Yes.
audiobook. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to that, but I don't know how cat like it's going to be, if it's like legit a cat book, but there's cats on the cover, which I think is why she chose it for me.
That's fun.
Next up, this next book is another fun thing that we just like haven't done in a while, but I got another copy of Albatross by Terry Follis, so it's time for another Flight of the Albatross.
Oh my god.
So this is a fun thing that we do. Anytime one of us finds a copy of Albatross, we give it away to one of our patrons. So that is something that we're going to be activating again. So this is for those who don't know, this book is only really available to buy in Canada, and Ariel talks about it so much. And so we wanted to share it with as many people as we can who aren't in Canada, who don't have access to the book. So over on our Patreon, we run a little giveaway. So if you're a patron, check out the post that will be up there now. And if you want to become a patron to enter this giveaway, go for it. It's patreon.com/booksunbound. And yeah, literally anytime I find a copy of this book, or I also have friends who are looking for this book for me. Anytime one of us finds it, that it'll be going out to the world. So yeah,
we have a whole squad.
We do. It's so funny. She always texts me. She's like, "Do you still need this book?" And I was like, "Always. I always need the book. Never stop buying it." So, Flight of the Albatross, I think that's number 5, number 6. I don't know. We've done a few, but
that's fun.
All right. Finally, what I'm currently reading. So last week you chose for me to read Bliss Montage, which I am currently reading. I have not finished it yet, but I am just over halfway. I've read like 6 stories or so, and I'm really liking it.
I was scared you were about to say you weren't liking it because you haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, so no, I've just been like the past few weeks just not really reading that much in general. So I'm going to probably finish it today though, because I read a bunch last night and was really enjoying it. So I think I'm in the middle of this story, and then there's like 2. It looks like the last 2 stories are quite long, so that'll be fun to dive into. But I just wanted to share the first paragraph of the first story because I feel like it sets the tone for the book a little bit. So the first story is called Los Angeles. The house in which we live has 3 wings. The west wing is where the husband and I live. The east wing is where the children and their attending au pairs live. And lastly, the largest but ugliest wing, extending behind the house like a gnarled broken arm, is where my 100 ex-boyfriends live. We live in LA.
That's really cute.
It's great. And so you get this kind of strange situation, which I always love in short stories, where it's like, yeah, it's just like a strange little situation, but for the purposes of the story makes perfect sense. And the second story actually kind of is almost like a partner to the first story. Like there's one of the 100 ex-boyfriends from the first book is a character in the second book as well, and it kind of like continues on that story a little bit. But the rest of the stories haven't been connected. I was wondering if there was going to be kind of a through line through all of the stories, but so far there's not. Just the first 2 stories, but we'll see how the rest goes. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. So pretty much every story has been pretty awesome. I haven't had one yet where I'm like, oh, that was a real dud of a story. So and that often happens. Usually there's at least like 1 or 2 that are just like not quite to my taste or whatever. But I feel like Ling Ma is just like, she's just got it. Like I really just like her writing. And
the novel that you fell in love with of hers, Severance, is like a dystopian-y, zombie-ish kind of a situation. So I guess like speculative fiction. Yeah. Are these stories speculative or are they contemporary?
They're mostly contemporary. Like they're mostly just about people, and they're not even in like really strange situations all the time. Like that's kind of mostly just the first one. And then the second one is just like dealing with a real kind of like, relationship problem, and like abuse, that kind of stuff. Like it deals with real topics like that. It's not super strange, which I like. And the one that I just started reading is called Office Hours. It's about a woman who is like in university and just like spends a lot of time talking with one of her professors. So it's just like normal stuff like that. So it's very different from Severance. So it's definitely a good
cool
follow-up.
You're also liking
it.
Sick. Damn. All right. Well, I'll talk to you about my reading now. So first of all, like I mentioned, today was only the first day that I've been in London. So there's no big haul
Yet.
action. I did want to pick up one book today, though. I had it as a mission. I was like, I know the shop I'm going to, and they better have it. And they did. And I bought Weasels in the Attic
good.
by Hiroko Oyamada. So, as you guys know, this is my new personality book. This is... Okay, I have to tell you about the interaction that I had with this book. It was so deeply unfortunate, really, that I was like, I've really just failed a social interaction. It's like, you know when you leave a situation, you're like, that was not smooth. That was not good. Yes. So basically, I walk into the shop. And I'm like, I can find a book, right? Yeah. Oyamada. It's in the O section. So I go to the O's, and I forgot. And I think it was just because this particular Waterstones had the section a little hidden. Okay. They do something really different here that we don't really do over in North America. Yeah. We sometimes do it. Basically, like, new fiction is separated between new hardcover fiction and new paperback fiction.
So confusing.
It is confusing, especially if you don't know if the book is in paperback or hardcover.
Yeah, because I feel like in the UK, their publishing system is so much different than ours for like hardcovers and paperbacks. I feel like, do they even get hardcovers there? Like, I guess they must.
I know, it's a lot rarer, and it's just a different, like you say, like a lot of books just go straight to paperback more than they do, but they're like more expensive than our paperback. Yeah. Anyhow, I went to the O section and I didn't find the book, and it's because I forgot to look in the hardcover section. And I think it's because all of them are published in paperback in North America, so I wasn't thinking hardcover.
Totally.
Anyway, so I'm looking all over the O section, and I'm like, it's not here. And then I'm looking on this little, like, there's a table of translated books, and I was like, maybe it's not there. And I was like, I'm going to have to ask the guy. So I go up to the man, and he was like our age. And I was like, hello, I'm wondering if you could look up a book for me. And he was like, oh, yeah, for sure. We walk over to the till, and I'm like, it's called Weasels in the Attic. And he's like, oh, okay. And he starts typing it in. And I was like, yeah, so basically I found there's weasels in my basement. And I was like, I didn't need to say this. I've gone down a route I didn't want to take. Oh, no. And he just looked up from the computer and he's like, oh. And I was like, yeah, and then he goes, we've got it. And he goes over, he's like, it's in the hardcover section. This is clearly like a thing that he has to clarify with everyone, right? He's like, it's in the hardcover. So he hands it to me, and I was like, oh, thanks. And I was like, oh, God, okay, that was bad. So then I'm like, there's one other book I wanted to look for. They didn't have it. And I checked in both the hardcover and the paperback section. And I was like, all right, I'll just go pay for this book. So I go back to the guy. And I did the thing where, damn it, I like doubled down a little bit where I was like, I need to explain myself, right? Which again, wrong technique. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, so basically I found there's a family of weasels in my basement. And he's like, a family? I was like, yeah, there's a bunch of them.
He's like, who is this strange Canadian?
Why does she keep telling me about these weasels in her basement?
Yeah, he probably has a funny story when he goes home.
I was like, and this author, I've read two of her other books, which is wrong. I haven't read The Factory, but whatever. Yeah. I was like, I've read two of her other books, and then I saw, and so I knew that she had this book out. And then I found the weasels in my basement, so I was like, I've got to read Weasels in the Attic. And he was like, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, no way.
And I was like, yeah, it's honestly a really good book. And I was like, and it's super relatable to me. No book has ever been more relatable. I was like, there's a whole section where the guy's just like, well, great, now I just have to live with weasels. And he was like, are you just going to have to live with your weasels? And at this point, like, by the way, I'm paying. Yeah. Right? Like, the interaction is happening. I've tapped my card. And so he says, are you just going to have to live with your weasels? And I was like, well, yeah, who am I to kick them out? And he just laughed. And I was like, well, bye. And I left. And I was like, good Lord.
I think you should go back to that store and then just, like, be normal. Don't say anything to him.
Just wear, like, a blazer.
Just really be a super serious, normal person. You're like, I'm just here to buy books. I'm going to buy some books, and then I'm going to leave.
It was such a fun little mess.
I do love that.
That was a little mess. Okay, other things that I bought today that I just thought I'd show you for the fun of it. I got two little gift cards. So
Ooh.
one of them says happy birthday on it,
Aw.
and it's just very cute and pink. And then the other one is just it's like a very small little flower card.
It's very cute.
And what I have found is recently there have been a couple of situations, I don't know if it's like, this is what happens in your late 20s, but there have been a couple of situations where I'm like, oh, I need a happy birthday card. And then I go to my stash and I've got a couple of cute ones to pick from. And I'm like, this is actually pretty good. So now if I see cute little cards, I do pick them up and it's really fun. They're very cheap to buy, easy to ship home and like bring home with me. So that's been good. I got these beautiful earrings that I'm so excited to wear tomorrow. The brand is Estella Bartlett. I've never heard of them. But look at these, really. They're like hoopies with little cool daisies on them. Adorable. I will also post a photo of everything to the Instagram, you guys. And then the final thing I got is this beautiful print of this Japanese lady. I love it. And as you know, I have a wall of art in my house that's just women, like ladies, a wall of ladies. And I saw this one, and I was like, welcome to the wall, lady. It's happening. Right. So that's my little haul from today. I didn't really buy very much, but I got my nails
I noticed
done
that.
too.
I was like, ooh, they look shiny and cute.
They're just pretty pink. I went for a very springy pink. I had a whole conversation with the two estheticians there. Because I picked my classic purple that I always do, and then I also picked this pink out, and I was like, which one should I go with? And they picked the pink, and I was like, okay, this is
That's good.
All right, but finally I want to talk about the book that I'm currently reading. This is pretty funny, really. So basically, I remember a couple of weeks ago when I got my e-reader, I was looking through books I already own on my library. And then I just hit hold on a lot of books. It's been mildly stressful. I'm not going to lie. Like I definitely requested too many or whatever. And they keep coming in and I keep going, no, I don't have time for this. But a couple of days ago, this one came in and it's a Psalm for the Wild Built.
So cool.
By Becky Chambers. So this is a book that I've had on my shelf for probably 2 years now, maybe a bit longer.
I feel like you were in another Airbnb when you like first bought it or started reading it. Like, didn't you buy it in like Toronto or something? Like you were somewhere else. I have this distinct memory of where you like you sitting in a different place talking about that book.
Yes, no, it was a Toronto Airbnb. Wow. You remembered that very well. It was when it was the same period when we did the Wild reading.
Yeah.
When we read Wild.
There's something about
that. So I bought too many books on that trip. I bought too many books on that trip. And I remember the chapters that I bought it at now. I remember. God. It's all coming back to me. Anyways, I've had that for a couple of years. So that would have been like 2021.
I think so, yeah, because we didn't make our movie last year. Our movie.
Yeah, we called it a movie. It was not a movie. It was just a really long vlog. It is on the Patreon, though, if people want to check that out. But I did buy this then. So, okay, I've had it for like 2-ish years. So I keep meaning to read this. I've been meaning to read this book since I bought it, of course. And I recently had found that I have mentioned it to quite a few people. Yeah. Like, I recommended it to my friend because I was like, whoa, I actually think that this book, have you heard of it? No, and she hadn't. I was like, it would be perfect for you. And I pitched it to her. And she's like, and you read it? I was like, actually, no. I just know a lot about it. And then similarly to another person, like to literally 3 people in the last few weeks, I've like brought it up. And I was like, I really need to read that book. So it then came in from the library and I was like, okay, I'll start this one. I started it and I was literally maybe like 6% of the way through. And I was like, cool, that'll be the book that I probably read on this trip. Last night, the night where I couldn't sleep, I read, baby. Ooh. And I made it to 52% of the way through the book. So I pushed through half of the book during my little insomnia moment. And I'm loving it. It's so cool. So I definitely am hoping to finish this for next week and I'll do a review then. I really would be shocked if it pivoted in some strange way. So it's so cozy, really calm, really relaxing. It's like one of the most cottagecore books I've ever read.
That's the vibe I get from all the reviews I've read.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really enjoying that. Great. I feel like it was a great thing that came in next into my little list. I was like, I didn't expect to read this, but I'm glad that it serendipitously the library happened to push that one my way. And I'm excited to finish it.
Oh, I love that. It's actually funny because that book has been on my radar as of like yesterday and today because our friend Max he just read it and he's now reading the second book. He loved the first book.
Way.
And
that's funny.
So this morning I checked to see if my library had it as an ebook, and they have it as an ebook and an audiobook. So I was like, oh my God. And the ebook is available now. So I almost like downloaded it, but I was like, wait, I have other books that I need to read, but maybe I should just just read it.
Oh my God, it's the moment. It's the moment for a psalm for the wild build. I will say, I don't think it's a very good name. I've said it to people and they're like, sorry, what? And I'm like, a psalm for the wild build.
Yeah, it does sound kind of wacky
and they're like,
when you just hear it like that.
They're like PSAL. I'm like, yeah. It's like, it's kind of a hard to catch on to title. It doesn't roll off the tongue at all.
I agree.
At all. A psalm for the wild build. I'm like, this is clunky. But that's okay. I know Becky Chambers has a lot of her novels are like that. They have like the long sci-fi
it's
titles.
True.
The classic.
They're like hard to remember. Honestly, I don't understand titles like that.
No, me neither. But who are we?
Mere mortals.
We're not publishing experts. Thank you so much to everyone for hanging out with us. We are now going to go and record Movie Tub.
Yeah.
The mini podcast for our Patreon where we talk about what we've been reading and seeing.
Just seeing,
and I meant seeing and watching. And you can tell that I'm sleepy now.
Yep.
And in the meantime, you can check us out on Instagram. Do you know we do Reels now? Yeah, that's right. We're trying to be hip.
So true. Are we good at it? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to go that far yet. But yeah, we're making Reels over there. We're putting in some effort to make some cool photos for you guys. So if you want to check out our updates over there, and also it's a chance for you to get our updates and see the visuals for the books that we're talking about, definitely check that out. We're books_unbound.
Yep.
I'm not mad about that or anything. And you can also check us out on YouTube because we're now posting our episodes as videos.
Yes, we are.
Wave to the camera. Hello. Hello, hello. Here we are.
Hola.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next week with a big haul, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.